Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, C, and if you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on another episode. Now, if you're someone who's scared of taking risks but wants to learn how to make it happen, keep listening because today I'm sitting down with one of my mentors. Her name is Kaitlyn, and she is one of the biggest risk takers I have met so far, from quitting her successful business as a makeup artist to now working as a holistic psychotherapist coach. And she is literally leading the way and coaching women how to do the same. And as a disclaimer, this is not for the faint-hearted. Kaitlyn, welcome.
Well, hi, thank you so much for having me. That is an intro and a half, and I think I'm going to steal it.
Steal it away. For those who don't know you, what made you leave the makeup industry and go into coaching?
Yeah, cool. So straight into it. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, I was a hair and makeup artist for 10 years. I started it when I was 16 years old. I worked through different makeup counters. I was a makeup trainer for a few years. I built my freelance business and I was getting some really cool gigs. Like I was like quite, I would say more at the topper end, the higher end of my industry. So makeup was really like all I knew. It was my life. And I got to this point one day where I'd kind of like had my spiritual journey or my like awakening, or I'd kind of like realized that there's more to life than making women look hot, that I wanted to do more. It was over lockdowns where I was out of work for around like a year and a half, 2 years. So I think I got given the space that I needed to make some changes in my life. And even though it was at a really, really hard time because I had no job, no income at the time, I had no place to live as well. It was something that I really needed to spur me into a new direction. And I'm so fucking, can I swear? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that I had it. So it kind of was an unintentional change, but it's something that happened based on a book that I read.
What's the book?
It was called How to Do the Work by Nicole LaPera. So this was 2 years ago, and I'd worked with my first coach and she had changed my life. We were on this brand new journey, and then I read this book, and I remember sitting there in my bed and I was in a really, really low state, and I read this book and I was like, I think I want to help people. I think there's more to me than making people look really good. I think this is what I want to do. And I felt my whole body tingle. And it was something I'd never felt before. It was like this whole body, the first time I'd felt like a whole body fuck yes. And then, of course, you know, when you get these crazy ideas, then I got hit with all of this, like, who do you think you are? You can't do that. You're the party girl. You're the makeup artist. This is you. So it's been a really, really interesting journey, becoming a psychotherapist, becoming a coach, and leading into this. So it was really unintentional leaving my makeup business, but it was the path that I was meant to be on.
It's so interesting to hear that coming from you, because too often people don't know what their true passion is. And they do tend to stick in their lane because they've done it for so long. And I can resonate with your story so much, from starting in the fitness industry, being, you know, a strength coach, working on body composition, making women, helping women lose weight and feel good on the surface level side of things. But then when we go through our own journey or hit, well, maybe like, I don't know about you, but like I hit rock bottom where I was just like, there's more to life than just helping women lose weight. Like it's just one aspect of health. I want to help them on the other spectrum as well. And it sounds like you're doing it right now. And for those who don't know what psychotherapy is, would you mind explaining to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And so psychotherapy is a combination of different therapies. We work bottom up and top down. So we're working on the mindset, we're working on the brain, but I'm also looking at the things that you're putting in your body. So are you getting enough sleep? Is your nervous system regulated? We're looking at a little bit of like hormones and a little bit of body work, but it's kind of like an umbrella term for everything. We do a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation. We deal with inner child, but then it's also really science-backed shit as well. So I love it because I feel like it's the perfect approach for me because it's what helped me. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I think you're exactly right. Like it's that rock bottom kind of stage that helps you project into something new. And especially coming from, like you said, like going from a PT and helping women on their bodies to now into a mindset coach, like this is where people get stuck because they do get so stuck in their ways. And like when I had this decision, I was like 29 and I was like, oh my God, do I want to be studying at 30? Like, holy crap, I can't change my life. Makeup is all I know. But it's that moment that you go, the time is going to pass anyway. Am I going to be happy being a PT for the rest of my life? Am I going to be happy being a makeup artist for the rest of my life? Or have I got this calling, this idea for a reason?
Oh, wow. I could literally talk about this forever and ever because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are having like aha moments right now going, I love what I do, but I know there's something else out there that I'm wanting to do it. And whatever's holding me back is, oh, I'm too old or I'm too young or I don't have enough credentials to go for it. Whatever fucking limiting belief comes up. And I literally had a conversation like this with a client of mine saying, she was telling me how she feels as if she's getting too old to do a certain thing. And it was a story that she was telling her because of the way we get brought up. You know, by the time you're 30, it's like, oh, if you don't have kids right now, then that's it for you. And yeah, it's quite interesting to like have that shift in your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that was something that held me back. I was like, I don't want to be studying at 30. And then I was like, whose idea is this? This isn't my belief. Like, where have I got this from? And it's this whole thing from society of like, women should be like married and have kids by the time we're 30. Well, like, yeah, that's really great for some people. I had to really look at myself and be like, that's not what I want right now. And that's okay. It doesn't make anyone else wrong. It doesn't make me wrong. It's just like, that's not my journey. And am I going to be happy doing makeup? Am I going to miss it? Probably. And it was like, it wasn't something that I completely stopped and got straight into psychotherapy and coaching. It was something that I slowed down whilst I grew my business. So it was something that I still had access to when I found I really started to enjoy it more because I was like, this is really creative. Like it wasn't my income anymore. So I was like, this is so much fun. And I slowly started like getting less jobs. I stopped posting on my Instagram. I really started to lower it whilst my coaching business grew. So the transition, even though it's like such a big risk, it felt a lot safer for me because I didn't just like completely leave that side of me. I really grew into this side of me, which is cool.
With the growing side of things, did you restart your social media completely or did you move slowly into that phase as well?
So I had a makeup Instagram that I'd been growing since the start of Instagram. And it was during this time over lockdown, I was going through a really, really bad breakup and I deactivated all my social media. So I had no Facebook, I had no personal Instagram. I had my makeup Instagram app that I didn't really use because I wasn't working. So from about, when did we break up? Like April till October, I had no personal social media presence. And this was the time that I was looking into studying. This was the time that I went through that whole big change. And I was like, I obviously need to get back into the real world, but I was in a really, really low spot. And the thought of being seen, the thought of coming into Instagram and being like, hello, I've disappeared for 8 months and I'm no longer doing makeup and now I'm doing this and everything has changed. I was like, this is fucking scary. This is terrifying. So I used my personal Instagram and this is so funny. I came back, I reactivated and I was like, okay. And I made one post and it was like a selfie and a few little highlights. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to like start introducing this new side of me and I'm going to start posting quotes and this, that, the other. And I was like really scared. So nothing was on my feed, but I was like reposting. Like, I can't remember what they were, like inspirational quotes or like things about seizing the day, like really, really intro basic mindset posts. I remember people were messaging me This one chick messaged me. She's like, babe, are you okay? You've been posting a lot of quotes. Are you depressed? I was like, fuck, the opposite of what I wanted to achieve here. So it was a really funny transition. I think it would have been funny watching me from the other side trying to navigate it. So I used my personal Instagram. And now I'm not sure if I would do it again. I'm not sure if I would start a new Instagram because I obviously had all the people from my past. And I think that contributed to the fear I had showing up online that was to come when I started actually launching my business.
It's so interesting when we do have certain people in our lives or they're not in our lives anymore and they still watch everything that you do.
Literally, why? I've got like ex-boyfriends' mums on my Instagram from like 7 years ago and they're so blessed. They like all my stuff. And it's like, why are you here? Thank you.
With that transition, because by the sounds of things, you weren't only hit by the difficulties of lockdown through COVID, but also the breakup, the transition of yourself as a person, as you know, your being as a leader, because you were a makeup artist and then you decided to become a coach. What was like a big what was a big moment for you where you really held yourself back from taking a risk, but then once you did it, you were like, thank fucking God I went there?
I feel like this whole journey over the past year has just been risk after risk after risk. So there's been moments of me, like the first time I posted that I was starting to take clients, I was like, I can't do this. No one will take me seriously. Like, what the fuck do you have to offer? And then I was like, I did it. And then I started getting clients. And then it was just continuing to post online and to show myself that I am actually getting more confident and showing people like, hey, I do know what I'm talking about now. Like I was talking about the nervous system and like, I was like, my mind is blown. Like, what do you mean there's a parasympathetic nervous system? Such basic anatomy. But I was like, everyone needs to know this. So just taking the risk to like talk about things that I usually wouldn't have ever spoken about or like had those conversations. It was just like step by step, risk by risk. I just got stronger and stronger and more confident in what I was doing. But I still tackle risk every day, which is cool.
And this is something that most people don't take upon themselves, or they won't admit that they're wanting to take that risk or to put themselves out there due to the fear.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like I thought about that because I had such a big fear when I first worked with my first coach early 2021 when I was still in makeup. She was like, you should be doing reels on yourself. Like, let's put yourself out there. Let's grow your business. That's how we grow it, especially going into lockdown. And I was like, what if someone doesn't like my face? What if someone picks on my eyebrows? What if I get bad feedback? And I was literally so scared. And mind you, I'm very good at makeup. I've been doing it for 10 fucking years. Like, I'm very good at it. So it was still this part of me that's like, what if it's not good enough? And I noticed when I started showing up as a coach, it was such a different mentality because I started believing in myself more. So it actually wasn't anything to do with my skill level. It was my self-belief that made it work. Because I can tell you right now, I've been coaching for a year and a half. I've been doing makeup for 10 years. Statistically, I'm a lot better at makeup than I am as a coach. That's just based on evidence because I've been doing it almost 10 times longer. But I can tell you my business has moved so much further as a coach than I did with makeup because my self-belief has changed, which is fucking incredible. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's really good.
So that you did answer the question. And around that self-belief piece, we know that that's something that a lot of women struggle with. And you've seen it with myself. I'm going to admit it. You've seen it with other clients. You've seen it with yourself as well. You know, it comes up. What is the one main thing where, okay, well, I'll ask you instead of like giving us example of clients, but what's the one thing that helped you build more self-belief in yourself?
Yeah, it was doing the things that I said I was going to do. Like blinkers on. If I say I'm going to do something, do it. And it's all about risk taking as well, right? Because you're showing yourself that you can do the hard things. And I think it's even things like this is when I started doing ocean dips, ice baths. I got really into meditation, really into breath work. So I was pushing myself outside my comfort zone. That was a risk. I remember the first ocean dip I went into, I was like so scared of being around in my bikini around other people, right? It's those little things. And it's also acknowledging where you're at and where your self-belief is, and not comparing yourself to anyone else. Because I can watch these girls and I can be like, oh my God, they're so confident. They're so this, they're so that. They're a completely different person to me. So their level of confidence, they might not be scared about being in a bikini around someone else, but they might be shit scared about doing something that I'm really confident in, because we're different people. So I think taking it away from comparing yourself to anyone else and just going, how can I believe in myself a little bit more than yesterday? How can I do one thing to bring me closer to being a more confident person? How can I love myself one little bit more? Like, is what I'm doing for my body, is what I'm putting in my body something from love? If not, why am I doing it? And sometimes love isn't just like bubble baths and journaling. Like, me giving myself love is jumping into that freezing cold ocean. Me giving myself love is jumping into that ice bath. It's the discipline. It's the morning routines. I don't want to fucking show up on social media. I feel sick, but this is me showing myself love because I know that the outcome is what I want. It's that kind of thing.
We're such freaky human beings. Like, why do we do this to ourselves?
Literally. I've read somewhere that it's like we create problems in our own heads because evolutionary, we were used to like solving so many problems through like hunting and gathering and like surviving. So now we have all this excess brain space and brain power that it's just like, yeah, let's create some problems out of thin air. And that's what it is. Like, these problems of self-belief and self-trust, they don't actually exist. They only exist in here, which is cool because then we can fight it like 1v1.
Yeah.
And it's really like, it's a simple task. It's not easy, but once we get through it, it just keeps going.
It's so true. In regards to having that discipline to have optimal health, I literally wrote this on my story this morning about how having the discipline, like you said, it's going to do the ocean dip, or it's going to do your breath work, or it's going for your morning walk, or it's going to do some form of, health beneficial to help you feel your optimal best. Because too often, like you said, people will do it from a lack of mindset. I'm taking this back to fat loss. Too often women who are not happy with themselves will want to lose the 5-10 kilos because they hate what they see in the mirror. But realistically, they're not actually coming from a place of love. So they're constantly going through that vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting, burning calories because of what they're eating. It's just like, fuck, like, how can we change that narrative for you to look at your life in a different lens, going, how do you want to optimally feel as good as possible and be disciplined around that? And once you make that switch, it's just like, oh, fuck, like, why couldn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, literally. And like running to something rather than running from it. Like in terms of like fat loss, you're not trying to lose fat. Let's look at it from a different lens of, I'm trying to gain confidence, strength, muscle tone, whatever it is. It's a lot easier to go for something. I'm coming into confidence. I'm coming into power. I'm coming into strength. I'm coming into being secure of who I am, instead of running from something. Like, having that mindset is a really key piece as well.
Speaking of running from places or things, you went through, I love how I just go straight into it.
Smooth.
I know. You went through a partying season in your life, and too often people won't want to admit this. I'll be the first to put my fucking hand up that I used to party a lot. I used to take a lot of drugs. I used to smoke because I was really unhappy with my life. And I would love for you to share your story and why is it that you don't drink anymore?
Yeah, cool. So I think my like journey with alcohol started like as most young Australian teenager girls, hiding cruises in the front bush and pretending that I'm not taking them to a party. My mum buying me a 4-pack of cruises, giving me one to take out when I was underage. all of those things, and you grow up drinking, and I never really thought much of it. My mum passed away just before my 21st birthday, and after that I got into a really deep hole of depression. Through that phase, I started drinking a lot, partying a lot, hanging out with people that were just really not good for my development. Worked through that, saw a psychologist for a while, and then it wasn't until, I guess, lockdowns kind of hit again. Like I was always drinking on and off, and I was like the party girl. So like you could kind of like count on me. We'll always get a bag. Like I'd be super fun. I thought, this is the thing, I thought I was super fun, but upon reflection, probably not that fun to anyone else. I remember my boyfriend at the time, like this would have been like 7 years ago. Anytime we went out to a festival, he'd always have to take me home. Like I would ruin the festival for him because I would either drink too much or I'd like have way too much Coke or like whatever it was. He would literally have to drag me home and he would miss out. And this happened like 3 festivals in a row. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, this is a fun time. Everyone does this. Over lockdowns, again, it was that phase of like 2021 where I'd read the book. I'd decided I wanted to start studying, but then I didn't have any work to do. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I just moved into this new apartment near the beach and I was like, living the vida loca. This is great. But I was bored. And I started hanging out with people that, again, were not good for me. We were getting drunk. We were getting high almost every day because there was nothing, like there was no consequences of it. We could just go on 3-day benders. And I was like having the time of my life in quotations. And then it took me this moment. I think I was coming off like this like 3-day bender or something. And I was like, on Tuesday afternoon, I'm on my couch eating Nando's. And I was like, oh, I have to submit this assignment for my course that I was studying. My course started with a diploma of meditation therapy teaching. So I'm learning all about meditation, learning about the brain, learning about the nervous system. And here I am like gacked out of my mind trying to like submit an assignment. And I was like, I had this like moment of like, what the actual fuck are you doing? What are you doing? This is not congruent at all. How do you think you're going to make a life teaching people this and coaching people and changing lives? And here you are sitting on a couch eating Nando's at 2:00 in the afternoon because you come off a bender. Like, this does not add up. Something needs to change. And I was like, I had this like montage of my life of all the shit I've been doing over the past few months of like, this is not serving me. Like I had become an absolute mess. I'd ruined friendships. I was just like a really, really horrible person. I used to get really angry. I used to get really sloppy. I was doing things that I didn't think that I would never usually do sober. But it wasn't until that moment that I saw it all in front of me. Because at the time I'm like, I'm not like a life of the party. Like this is great. And it was literally that split moment. And I have not touched alcohol or drugs since. And it's almost, I think I've clocked 650 days. Like I'm somewhere in the like 660 day mark. But it was that moment of like, I can't be who I want to be if I'm still holding on to who I was. Mm-hmm. It was that huge shift in identity. And it took me 1 weekend. I was like, cool, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to go sober. I had a friend's picnic and it was a beautiful sunny day. And I was like, this is my time. Like, this is usually such a big trigger for me to drink. Like a day sesh is my jam. And I was like, I can drink if I want. So I had this kind of like different mentality around it. I was like, I'm going to not drink. However, I know myself. And if I say I can't do something, I'm going to want it more. So I'm going to say I can drink. However, I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing not to drink because that seemed like such a more powerful place for me to come from. Instead of like, oh, I can't drink it. I was like, no, I'm choosing not to drink. And I remember my friends were so supportive. They were like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to drink. And I remember that day because I had the best day. I was playing soccer with the boys in the park. I was having really good conversations with friends I'd known for 5 years, but I was having deeper conversations with them. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this about you. I didn't know you thought that. I didn't know you had these beliefs. And I remember going home and I drove home and I was like, this is the best thing ever. What the hell have I been doing? And it just like kept going from there every weekend. It was like, yeah, I'm not drinking. I started to feel better. I started to like my life. I started to go for, again, ocean dips in the morning on a Sunday morning. I started to meet friends for coffee on a Sunday morning. I started to lose weight. I started to lose inflammation. I started to like enjoy things. I started to get more confidence in myself as well because I was like, I can't hide behind alcohol. Of course, there was like heaps of self-doubt coming in of like, this isn't you. You're the party girl. You're the fun one. I'm like, I can be fun. So it was just relearning how to be fun and unlearning the things I taught about myself. And I told myself all these stories of like, I have to be this person. So it was like the best journey that I have ever been on. Like, I cannot recommend it enough, because I think this is also what's helped like my confidence, my security, my ability to move my business, move myself, because I'm not spending any time hungover. I'm not distracted by alcohol. And if anything comes up that I'm like, I want to drink, I'm like, cool, there's something there that you're avoiding. There's some kind of feeling that usually you would numb. Usually you would just go, no, not looking at it, but you have to sit with this. So I think from that lens, like there's so many different aspects of it, but it is the best thing that I've done.
And that was going to be my next question, is regarding us drinking to hide something, because too often, and this is so relatable, not only taking care of our health, but also in today's society with dating and going out, too often the easy way is like, oh, let's get a drink and like have a chat. However, too often we'll find people who are drinking a little bit more because they're either not feeling confident within themselves, they have certain insecurities that they're trying to hide, and then they get that boost of confidence because they're drinking alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, like, alcohol is not some superpower. Like, it's not giving you confidence. You just think that it is, right? You think that it's giving you all this stuff, but in reality, you are fully capable of having those conversations and doing that thing. You've just told yourself that you can't.
Yeah. I've come across so many times where I would be approached by guys and they would be like, oh, let's go grab a drink and, you know, get to know one another. And obviously, you know me, and my question is like, why do we have to have a drink to get to know one another? And I love sparking more in-depth conversations instead of just having to have an alcoholic drink. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a fucking spicy margarita, but I'm not going to have it religiously just to get to know someone. So with your life right now being over, was it 650 days sober, what's life for you right now being a single girl and not fucking drinking?
I love this question. I think I found it harder in the first year because I was still quite rocky in my belief. And because I never set out to be like, I'm going sober, I'm never drinking again. That first year of kind of like dating and trying to navigate that, I was like, I don't know if I could even date someone who drinks. I don't want to go out for drinks. Like, how do I do this? So it's been a lot of like trial and error. Being invited to drinks, I used to not say it up front. I remember on my Hinge profile, I would just like go, prefer not to say. And I was really quite scared because I was like, what if they don't like me if I don't drink? What if I don't like me if I don't drink? And it would really rock me. So I would not say it, and I would like agree to go out for drinks, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to drink tonight. Oh yeah, I don't want to drink. And I would kind of play it off. But as I've gotten stronger in it, and the more I'm dating, I say that like I'm going on dates all the time. I'm really not. As I'm still single, people ask me out for drinks, and I just outright say it. I would absolutely love to. I don't drink, but I'm happy to sit with you while you have one. But then what I find is they also don't drink because they are also subconsciously waiting for the permission to not have that drink. And this happens a lot. Like, I had my 30th birthday party sober, and so many people weren't drinking there. And this was a challenge that I had. I was like, oh, do I want to drink? Do I not want to drink? And I was like, I came to the conclusion of like, I'm either going to fully send it or I'm not going to drink, because to me, there's no point in just having one. Like in my mind, I'm like, if I'm going to poison my body, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to ruin my streak, it's going to be worth it. And it was really interesting to see how many people also were like, yeah, I'm not drinking either. And then they were so happy about it. And then at my birthday the next year, I reckon like maybe 1 or 2 people drank, because it's like you're giving people that permission. And so I think in dating, now that I own it, I'm just like, yeah, I don't drink. It does like open that conversation. You will definitely find, I have definitely found men who are like, I could never do that. Or even some women who I meet and they're like, oh, I could never do that. How do you do that? I wouldn't feel comfortable. It's like, okay, like that's a you thing, bro. That's not a me thing. I'm actually really comfortable in this. So it is really interesting that we have this mentality of like going out for a drink, softening the edges. But I also think there's so much power in not having that drink.
And And we personally came across this in Bali with a few people, and we realized how that's a massive trigger for them. Like that's something that they need to look within themselves, whether they do or not. However, for those who are listening right now and they feel as if they must have a drink to just feel more at ease by meeting people, what are some of your suggestions just to lighten that up a little bit?
Yeah. I love this. And it's funny because I used to be this person as well. I remember when I was like 2 years ago, I used to look at someone's like Hinge profile, they'd tell me they don't drink. I'm like, you're so boring. Like, what a loser. So I've definitely been on the other side of it. And I think that's why I can see it so well and spot it so well in people. So if you're listening right now and you're like, oh, I want to do that, but I just can't, have a look at the feelings that are coming up for you. What is it? Like, get really clear. Is it that you think you can't speak to someone? Is it you think you're not going to be fun enough? Is it you need that little bit of confidence? And work out, I guess, the feelings behind that. So why? Where have you learned that you need alcohol? And I guess you just take that risk. Like it's not something really that I think you can really think about or journal about. I think you gain your confidence by doing it. So maybe it's taking a little bit more alcohol out of your life, and it's not completely going sober, but maybe instead of hanging out with your friends and going for a huge girls' night, maybe it's brunch. Maybe it's something small and then going and getting more comfortable with it that way. So taking these small little risks. And I've had friends who used to be big drinkers. We went for a girls' weekend. 2 of us weren't drinking. So again, it's that permission, and she was comfortable with not drinking as much. So whilst I went like 0 to 100, that's very much my mentality around things. However, sometimes it's a lot better for you to just do little risks here and there of lowering your alcohol intake, getting comfortable with it, and then again, reflecting afterwards. How did I actually feel? Was there a part of me that wanted to reach for that drink? What part was it and why? Like, it takes a lot of self-honesty to work it out. But once you do it, you can like clock it really easy.
It's that self-honesty piece where people feel really activated by tapping into that. And too often, no one wants to be honest because it's fucking vulnerable. It's scary.
Like, what happens if I'm honest with myself and I don't like it? What if I don't like what I see inside? Because we have this identity, we build up this like sense of self that we must protect at all costs. So for us to actually like open that door and look into it and be really honest, it's really, really scary. And I'm not disregarding that, but it is the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Speaking of good things that we do for ourselves, you're very big on breath work as well. That's something that, you practice yourself, but you also do with your clients. For those who don't know much about breath work, would you mind explaining to them exactly what it is and what are the benefits from it?
Yeah, for sure. So I came across breathwork again in 2021 during my whole dark phase. It was something that I tried once and I was like, holy fuck, what just happened? I had been, like I mentioned earlier, years of depression. I was on antidepressants. I had this phase in my life where I had panic attacks as well. And I was on a lot of medication and stuff, and nothing really seemed to cut through anything. Years of psychologist appointments, I felt like I was just telling her all the goss from the last fortnight and we never really got anywhere. And it wasn't until I experienced breath work that I was like, I saw things from a different space. I saw myself. I saw things and I felt things that I hadn't felt in years. So the first few times I did breath work, it was like my soul was getting ripped out because it was like years of built up emotion. So basically breath work, there's so many different ways to do it, but you're manipulating the way that you're breathing, your breathing pattern, in order to enact certain emotional responses or to calm the nervous system. There's different ways you can do ones that are calming and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So that can be really good for anxiety, to downregulate. But there's also ones that enact the sympathetic nervous system, which will kind of fire things up a little bit. And when you do something like that, it can turn off the prefrontal cortex of your mind. It switches that bad boy off, which means you can't access any logic or any analytical parts of your mind. So as you're breathing, what's happening is you're changing the gases in your body. This can cause tingles in the body. This also, without the like analytical part of your mind, allows your body to feel things that you have repressed. So the thing is, like when we have these triggers or these emotions, these sadness, this grief, when these come up and we go, oh, I'm not dealing with that, put that away, push it down, it doesn't just disappear. It goes into our body and we store it. Our body holds what our mind cannot, and everything is stored in the body. It's not like a memory in our brain, it's stored in our body. So what breathwork does, it allows us to feel those emotions. It allows us to express, it allows us to experience them again, depending on the type of breathwork that you do. But it can be a really, really powerful modality for healing, especially if you're someone who has pushed a lot of shit down and not felt it. I think there's also something to do with, in terms of Chinese medicine, the lungs hold grief. So the in and out breathing, because you do quite heavy belly breaths, there's something to do with that as well that releases a lot of emotions in there. So there's like a few different aspects to it. It's very heavily science backed. There's a very science breath work, but then there's also really like woo-woo spiritual breath work as well. So the way I do it with my clients is kind of like an in-between of the both, where we get the science-backed evidence, but then we also add in a little bit of woo-woo just to make it a little bit spicier. But yeah, it's phenomenal.
When we're looking at breath work, too often these days, a lot of people are quite hesitant about doing it due to seeing a lot of stuff online where, you know, certain people do have different ways of expressing themselves during a breath work. And it's really interesting because for so long I held myself back from doing breath work due to seeing people having these massive breakthroughs, like body shaking, screaming, crying. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to fucking do that. But we all experience it differently. And I would love you to explain to our listeners that it doesn't necessarily happen to everyone, and it happens for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was really lucky in the way that when I started breathwork, I had no idea what it was. So I didn't have any preconceived ideas, but I have had clients in the past who have like seen videos and people literally are like convulsing and they're screaming and all this, and they're like, I just don't know if I'm ready for that, which is totally understandable because that can be quite confronting. So it really just depends. Like the thing that I love about breathwork is that you can have 10 people in a room, you can listen to the same playlist, I can be giving you the same guidance and the same prompts, and not one person will have the same experience, because it really depends on what you're going through, the state of your nervous system and your like emotional memories, what your body's holding. So whilst yes, you may have this big emotional release, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like hard or it's going to be like really confronting. It might feel really good. I've had a few of those releases before when I first started, because a lot of what was coming up was like unresolved grief, unresolved trauma, all the stuff that I didn't want to look at because I didn't want to feel sad. Like a lot of stuff about my mum, a lot of stuff about the way I felt about my body was coming up. So I was going through these phases where I would do breathwork and I would be hysterically crying. I would be like screaming, because you need to get that emotion out, right? That's the point. If we're going to stir it up, we don't want to repress it, because that's how we got into this mess. So we do want to be expressing that emotion, and it can be quite like uncomfortable. But then afterwards you're like, oh my God, I feel like 10 years younger. I feel so light. But then you can also have, because now when I do those heavy breath works, now I just giggle. Like it's such a different level, and I can be doing the same style of breathing where it's quite heavy and it's meant to enact an emotional response. But now I'm just like laughing and I'm happy and I'm giggling. So it really depends on, I guess, where you're at, the state of your nervous system. Obviously, if you come in really dysregulated and you've got a lot going on, then if you're doing breath work, it's probably going to allow that to release and to move through faster. It depends on all your stories, your narratives, the things that are going on and the things that you've been through. So there's so many different determining factors, and plus the style of breath work, the music, the location, who you're with. Like there's so many variables to it.
It's so fascinating to hear about that, because when I first started doing breath work, there was just one way of doing it. I think it was like the Wim Hof style of breathing, but then I got introduced to other modalities, and then your modalities as well. It's like the one we did yesterday it was just complete like relaxation, where there's been several times where we tapped into the other side of breathing where it brings up a lot of emotion.
Yeah, which I love, because then it's like adaptable as well. And I think it can be so powerful as a daily habit that you get into. Like I do it daily, but I'll do like 5 minutes of deep belly breaths, and that's what I need to G up. You can you can manipulate the amount of inhales and exhales, like Wim Hof method, right? To get certain things from the body, like fire breathing, where you're just breathing like quite fast into the belly as like a pump, can give you so much energy and release so much dopamine that it'll like G you up instead of like a coffee. And then you can down regulate your breathing through it. Like your breath is your life force, and it's this beautiful free thing that we have access to 100% of the time. Like it is so, so, so powerful. And I love that we're starting to realize it again.
It is. It's very fascinating. I'm really glad that a lot of people are tapping into that a little bit more. I want to finish our conversation today about something that you spoke about on social media the other day, about your new norm being living in Bali. And it really resonated with me, not in the fact that I live in Bali, but we get too comfortable with what's happening with our lives, where we are seeking more excitement all the fucking time, but we don't actually realize that every time we're leveling up, that's a new excitement, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like the next best thing. And I want you to share with us why do you have those sort of thoughts come up to your head, and then why wasn't there any excitement where you moved back to Bali?
Well, yeah, this caught me by surprise. So to give you a little bit of backstory, this was a huge risk that I took this year. I terminated my lease in May, and I moved to Bali for 2 months. So I took my business on fully online. I mean, it was pretty much online, but I terminated my lease, packed a suitcase, 20 kilos, off we go, moved to Bali for 2 months. Huge risk. I ended up doing that, came home for a little bit, went back for another 3 weeks because I got booked for another retreat, came home for a little bit, and now I've come back again. And so I've been in and out for since May, however many months. And I landed in Bali, and you get hit with that beautiful smell of the airport. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, I'm home. And I was like, I don't have this giddiness inside me. I don't have this excitement that I felt the last 2 times I've landed here. And I really had to sit with it. And I said to my coach, I was like, she's like, are you happy to be in Bali? And I was like, yeah, but also like, I'm not excited. And I don't want this to be mistaken for like, I'm not grateful to be here. I'm not happy, but I didn't have that, you know, that in your belly where you're like, hee hee hee, like a little kid. I wasn't like, hee hee, I'm back here. I was just like, yeah, I'm back here. Like it was a more grounded, fuck yeah. And she was like, well, it's your new normal. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, to be honest, I didn't think anything. I didn't think further into it. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I moved on. And like I said in my story, I checked in and I got on my bike, and I'm driving down. I've got the wind in my hair, the sun on my face, like the sun shining. I was like, oh, I see what she means. This is my life. Like, this is my new normal of life. I've created this. This is now my new baseline. Whereas 10 months ago, my baseline was not this. 4 months ago, my baseline was not this. I've stopped chasing the highs, because this used to be a high. This used to be like such a stretch. In May, this was like, oh, am I going to make it? This is the biggest risk. What if I can't? What if I run out of money? What if I fall off a motorbike? What if I die? Like all these things running through my head. What if my business fails? What if people don't want to work with me because now I'm not in Melbourne? Like all these things were coming up, and now there's nothing. It was just like, yeah, of course I'm in Bali, because I can run my business from anywhere, because I can impact lives, because I can have this life. So it was really interesting to see the change in mindset even from a few months ago. And I think it's really interesting because we do get this, we chase the highs. We want that dopamine hit of like something new, something exciting, and then it's worth it. But it's like this life that you're living now, you've probably dreamed of, and now it's your normal, which is, I think, so fascinating about humans as well. Like we mentioned before, it's like, why do we do this?
It's very interesting. And like, thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm sure a lot of people can think this about their lives as well, going, just living it day to day and not realizing, oh, like this is the life I've created. I can do this and I will continue doing this. And then till you step into that next version of yourself. And I'm sure right now you're noticing bigger changes since being back there too.
Yeah, 100%. Now I'm like, okay, I've reached this level. And now what's next? Now what are we stepping into now? And it's not about chasing the high, because I'm not chasing the feeling of that excitement. I'm going, where is my next step? And sometimes we don't even need to know where our next step is. We just need to be open to experiencing a new step. Because I think this is where people get stuck as well. They go, okay, if I had gone, okay, I'm leaving makeup and I'm going to study this, and then I want to be here in a year's time, I wouldn't have got there. I never wanted to run meditation. I never wanted to run meditation at all. I was like, I'm not into that. I never saw myself getting into breathwork. I never saw myself running retreats. I never saw myself coming to Bali and being like more of a digital nomad, whatever, quotations. But I've allowed it to unfold. And I think that that's the beauty of it as well, of like, if you know that there's something more, and if you know that you're open to experiencing it, taking it one step at a time and being really, really grounded in who you are, get to know yourself so you can be open to whatever's going to come in and allowing it to come in, even if it's not what you thought it would be. I could not have planned this life for me 3 years ago. I would just, if you told me this is what I would be doing, I'd be like, you are actually insane, lady. Like, you need some help, because that's not me. I'm a party girl. I do makeup. That's what I am. I'm blonde. Like, even that is a huge change. I'm bleach blonde. Like, I would never have brown hair.
I can't imagine you as a blonde.
I said it for like the whole of my adult life. You will never catch me with brown hair. I would rather die than have brown hair. Now I'm like, how can I get my hair darker? It's so funny.
Oh my God. I love how we finished today's conversation on that, because too often we'll be so in a fucking logical mind about what is the next best step for me to go ahead. And you know what? I speak this from experience. Like, too often I get into my own fucking head being like, what's the next best step? Where am I taking myself? What am I doing? It's just like, as you said, like being open for change when the change comes, or if it comes, whatever it is just being open to that leading you to that direction. Because again, that's the whole joy of taking a risk.
Literally, you take the risk, and this is my thing. Sorry, this is the thing. Jump and the net will appear. That is what has gotten me through this. Jump and the net will appear, because I trust myself that I can get myself out of any situation and I can make it work. So no matter what, like coming to Bali, huge risk. Coming back to Bali, huge risk, right? Terminating my lease. That I know that rental prices are going to go up by the time I eventually settle back in Melbourne. That's a huge, huge risk, right? My not being able to rely on in-person events for income, another huge risk. But I just know that if I jump, I will catch me. Something will catch me. And I think this is where people get stuck, because they're waiting to see the net. I need to see the net and then I can take the step. But it's like, hey, actually, if you take the step, you'll catch yourself. And even if you don't think it's the way that you're going to catch yourself, because there might be things that don't work out. There might be things that you're like, yes, this is exactly what I want. And then the universe or whatever you believe in goes, actually, babe, we're going to do it a slightly different way, but I promise you that it's going to be better for you. There was things that I thought I wanted back in May that if I had gotten, that I was like, I'm so set on this. If I had gotten it, there is no way I'd be here. There is no way I'd be this person right now. And I think it's really beautiful to allow that trust to happen and to allow that flow.
100%. Oh my God. This is like resonating so much. And I hopefully our listeners are taking this on board as well, because there's uncertainty in everything. And we hold on to, oh, this is the right job for me forever. This is my partner forever. It's just like, we just don't know. Like, life is so fucking uncertain. And instead of holding yourself back, as you said, having that self-belief in yourself to just jump, take the fucking risk. And if it does work, awesome. If it doesn't, what's the worst case scenario? You go back to your parents, you build your business again, and you go back out there. You know, like we feed so much negativity to our heads instead of actually just taking the fucking step.
Literally. Like, what is the worst thing to happen if you were to launch your business? Oh, a little bit of a hit into the ego. That's what it is. Like, it's all an ego game. Like, you take the risk you make it happen. And if you have this mentality of like, I can't lose, like this is something I've adapted recently. I literally can't lose. Even if I lost all my clients for whatever reason, that's not a loss. That's me learning. Like I will learn from everything that comes my way. So there is no actual way that I can fail. Therefore, anytime I leap, anytime I take a risk, even if I don't think it's going to be successful, even if I don't think it's what I wanted, I'm going to win anyway, because I'm going to learn something. I'm going to get some kind of experience, which is going to propel me forward.
Speaking of learning, how can our listeners get to work with you or find you in the space that you're at right now?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Kaitlyn Menere. So KaitlynMenere. I don't have a website or anything right now, so you can just find me on the gram.
Everyone's on the gram anyway.
I'm like, I hope it never disappears, because I just do not want to bother with any other type of social media.
Instagram is enough for now.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that. Well, girls, again, Kaitlyn, thank you so much for joining me. And girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Kaitlyn, tag myself. And then I hope you're all going to start taking some big fucking risks.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I have absolutely loved this conversation.